Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Expert Division qualifying round wins here for the Game Set Match tournament in Golf Clash the Game. Video sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic, and these shots are featured in our Ultimate Tournament text guides for Expert Division. The main creator of our expert guide is Brandon Burke. You can find his channel through the link in the description down below, where he has hole breakdowns for every hole that we do have in the guide as well, to give you some pointers obviously. And this playthrough here is gonna be looking at free-to-play balls. Obviously I'm gonna mention where we can make and use a win ball or something like that as well, but in the end it's up to you to decide what way you wanna play. You can follow the info box on the right hand side for the club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, also what ball and club type I suggest you to play with. And once again, they are all suggestions and you follow them if you want to. Let's go to hole number 1. For hole number 1, we start off with a par 3, and we're gonna use, in this case, 2 bars of side spin, and we're gonna use 2.5 bar backspin. And once that is done, we will position ourselves with the bottom right of the blue ring by the edge of the rough with the ball guideline to the hole. And once after that, we shall then adjust. We shall adjust max plus minus 0% power 2 ball settings. Adjust with a straight pull, and you can see here that I'm using a Kingslayer. Kingslayer is definitely a great ball to use in a scenario like this when the wind is pretty high with the Kingmaker. We would recommend to play with 6.5 to 8 miles per hour to get the correct, not the correct wind, but get the wind strength that we're looking for. Perfect ball, and the ball will then hit the rough, and it will roll lovely towards the pin, and in this case for a beautiful hole in 1. Right at pin. Nice start on hole 1. For hole number 2, we are obviously going for green when it comes to here. And here you can play with many type of different balls. We have focused on the Berserker ball as it is a free-to-play ball that can win for free in the golden shot. But once again, you can play with other types of ball as well with a same or similar type of outcome. What can we say here? 1/3 of the blue ring, around 40% I would say instead, of the blue ring inside the rough to the left at complete max distance with Apocalypse 5 and 6. Have in mind that the position for an Apoc 5, sorry, an Apoc 7 and 8 is gonna be slightly different due to a different accuracy. If you play with an Apocalypse level 4, push up 6 yards after your adjustment to compensate for the less amount of power that you do have on your club. 6 bars of top spin, or like 5.8 bars of top spin, 2 bars of left spin is what I'm using. And you can see here that we roll a little bit too hot, but again, we have a great ball, we catches, you know, less rough, and therefore we roll over towards the fairway on the back. Still a super simple eagle from here though, but obviously to be able to maximize the opportunity here for a drop, I would strongly advise you to try to note down the wind angles and try to do some minor tweaks yourself. And also, if you're playing or want to play with a different ball and have no idea on how to do that, go into the practice mode and test it out before you go in and play live, because this hole, regardless of what tier you're playing, you will see the, you know, almost everyone that you're playing against gonna do an eagle here on hole number 2. For hole number 3, we start with the quarterback with the red ring to the right by the rough at the plus 15 yard mark. This is only to set up the position, because now we're going to switch to the Apocalypse. So make sure that you do have the Apocalypse packed in one of your bags, but also in this case to have the Cataclysm or the Big Dog as the second shot club. Adjustment and spin. Adjustment is going to be max plus 10 power 3 ball settings. Spin is going to be 5.8 bars of top spin, 2 bars of side spin to the right. If you would be playing with Apocalypse level 4, you would in that case push up 6 yards after your adjustment, so 6 extra yards after the adjustment there. Max overpower always, and we're gonna use 0.8 ball of curl to the right. You can see that the ball comes down nicely on the fairway, and here as well, using a ball that has more wind resistance but still power 5 is definitely something that you could be using. Make sure that you do have though the side spin too, to make sure that you're not gonna be too close to the left hand side. Second shot, I do play with the Cataclysm here, and sure, you can back up here using more topspin and in that case reduce the need of overpower completely, but I personally want to use 1 bar of topspin here to do a little own thing here by attacking the pin in this way. The problem with this way is that I'm going to have to use a decent amount of overpower if I'm having a short drive. 1 topspin aiming towards the pin, very important in that case that we are having the second bounce clearly above the rough, so it's not gonna clip the rough on the second bounce. Into overpower, we adjusted approximately 1 ring, and here I would recommend to go with 2 rings more than what we adjust into. So if we do adjust 1 ring into overpower, we do adjust 3 rings of, we do use 3 rings of overpower instead. Gets nicely down here and it rolls lovely up towards the pin, and you know, we're getting a safe eagle, because with this wind here, sure, an albatross is not impossible, but it's gonna be very tough, and I don't want to push it harder than what we do. And I believe, you know, the drive that Brandon created is absolutely brilliant and helps us having an aggressive way of getting the ball up there, but it's still safe as we have room for a great left and a great right. For hole number 4, we can play an aggressive route. We can also play a very safe route, and I'm going to talk about the safe route in just a bit, but I want to start here by going a bit more aggressive to give ourselves a much better chance to get ourselves an eagle on this hole. 6.5 bar topspin, 1 left spin, and I'm going to look for the 4th ring to the left by the rough line with Apocalypse 5 and 6. Second bounce should be just before it's getting clipped away by the rough. Very important that you do have that position. Now, for the adjustment, make sure to stay away from any 12-01 here, because a 12-01 will pull you further back, which means that you're gonna, in a worst case scenario, if using a bad 12-01, not reaching over the rough. So this drive here is somewhat technical, but in the end, if you stay away from having a wonky pull angle, then it's not gonna be as hard as it looks. Max plus 10 is the adjustment power 3 ball settings, and we're looking to get somewhere around 355 yards. From 356, I'm gonna play 5% slider, and we're gonna use max backspin and 1 right spin with the sniper level 10. And you can see here now that when I position my target here, I zoom in to see that the 3rd bounce shall be 1 cup behind the cup in terms of position. And we do that to compensate for the headwind that we're having, and also the wind direction in itself, that once we then pull our rings here, we will adjust down to a lower point and will therefore lose a little bit of distance. So again, we need to compensate for that by aiming like we did here in the example. 25% elevation is what's being used, and as already explained, 5% slider from 356, and this is an absolute beauty shot in my opinion, and gives us, you know, a kind of a safe way of playing the drive, but a really good chance with a perfect ball on the second shot to drop it for an eagle. Hole number 5, and we're gonna play a no movement shot here, and I would recommend to play with a wind that is going to be somewhere around 6.5 to 8 miles per hour. There's nothing wrong to play with a Kingmaker all the time, but I like to keep myself with that type of wind range. So I'm gonna play with a Kingslayer in this scenario, and we're using in this case 5.8 bars of topspin, 3 bars of side spin to the right. Adjustment is going to be max plus 10, and you have noticed already that I haven't touched my target. Now that's what a no movement is classified as, so we're not going to touch the target until it's time to adjust the rings. Max plus 10, and we use power 3 ball numbers and no overpower, and we go full curl to the right. If we do play with an Apocalypse level 4, make sure that you push up 6 yards after your adjustment to compensate for the less power that you do have on your club, compared to Apocalypse 5 and 5 to 8. Clip the rough, rollout, which is brilliant, and we get to 359 yards. Now, for the second shot, we wanted to play with our Grizzly, and the Grizzly here shall always be adjusted with Grizzly 9 numbers. I'm gonna pay close attention to the plus yardage that we're going to have. Now, it's very important that you do make sure to find a position that does not give you somewhat a wonky ball guideline, and I'm somewhat in that spot, and I would recommend in this case to actually back up a little bit, because again, I'm too far forward and it gives me a way of having a very inconsistent first bounce, which is what causes the miss here to the left. I would also recommend to go with a small 12-1 for this shot as well, to help the ball to stay on the correct path towards the hole. Minus 10% is the elevation, and just for reference, we use plus 3 as 85% slider for this shot. So the ball is hitting the intended landing spot, but as that is a kind of inconsistent spot, it gives me a very weird push out to the left. So have that in mind when you're playing here on hole number 5. For hole number 6, we're going to start with a power zero ball. I would recommend to start with a Marlin ball, because then we can find the 1 bar of right spin easy as well. So we start at complete max with the sniper level 10. 2.1 bar of top spin, 1 bar right spin. Once that is done, we change then to a Kingmaker or to a Kingslayer, depending on what type of wind we're gonna have. We're looking to have between 6.5 and 8 miles per hour. What I would like to say as well here though, is that if you do play with a sniper level 9, you need to start at the plus 2 yard mark, and then you cannot start with a Marlin because it will start too far back. Then you have to start with a power 1 ball if so, but then I would if so recommend to play with a Kingmaker or a Kingslayer directly and skip the idea of using a Marlin. But this only applies if you don't have sniper level 10. Adjust max plus 10 power 3 ball numbers, and the ball will come up there on the green, takes the funnel slope down towards it, and for a beautiful hole-in-one here on hole number 6. On hole number 7, the NASCAR, we are going to look for the left side of the blue ring to be just by the tip of the shadow, as you can see there, into the rough line. Once that is done, we shall apply 3 bars of side spin to the right and 2.8 bars of top spin. We're looking to have a wind between 6.5 and 6.5 and 8 miles per hour. Max plus 10 power zero ball numbers, because we are going to play a 1-to-1. So the easiest way to do it here is just look at the wind. It says 6.5 miles per hour, and then we use 6.5 rings as adjustment. Right side of the ball, outside the wall to the right, is what we're looking for as well, and try to hit perfect. And now you could see to bounce on the fairway up there, it catches the slope beautifully, and the ball will then roll down towards the pin for a beautiful hole-in-one here on hole number 7. This is a shot that I do believe is gonna be very possible to replicate, but always when using curl, it's definitely going to be a little bit tricky. For hole number 8, we are once again going to play with a power 5 ball, and here once again it doesn't matter if it is a wind 1 or it's going to be a wind 2 or even a wind 3 ball, because the difference is going to be though, it's like the overpower will, like the needle for overpower will shake a little bit more when it comes to playing with a wind 3 and a wind 2 ball compared to a wind 1 or a wind 0 for that matter. Stretch out to find the yellow ring above the rough line with ball guideline pointing just left of hole. I'm in the position here a little bit too much left. So what we then do is max plus 45 power 5 ball numbers minus 0.1 is the adjustment here. And once we have done that, we go full blast overpower with slow needle. If we do hit a great left or a bad great left, there may be a risk of clipping the rough. Great right and perfect will be fine, and this ball comes in lovely here on green for a safe eagle. For hole number 9, we start with the quarterback to find plus 15-yard mark with the right side of the white ring by the rough line. Once that is done, we change to the Apocalypse. Make sure that you do have the Cataclysm or the Big Dog packed for the second shot. 5.8 bars of top spin, 2 bars of side spin to the right. And once that is done, we shall apply an adjustment that is maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment power 3 ball setting. So even if we're using a power 5 ball, we use power 3 ball settings. Here you can obviously use a different power 5 ball if you want to. You don't need to use a Berserker. You can use a Rose Ball, Sterling Ball, and you can use a Luminary Ball, Baba Ball. There are so many different power 5 balls with side spin 2 that you can use. 1 ball of curl to the right, max overpower with a slower needle, and then we will get the ball down the fairway. Lovely. Second shot, we play once again, as mentioned before. We're gonna pack the Big Dog or the Cataclysm and use that as a club to make sure that if we have a crappy drive, for an example, that we can still reach without having to go into overpower. This shot here is purely played for an eagle, at least in my book. Sure, you can push, as you know, you can push harder by using a little bit more curl, but in the end though, for me, I'm playing this one for an eagle to just make sure that I'm not gonna sit there with a birdie on my scorecard in the end. Adjustment is a max plus a 10 here, or let's say like this, you're gonna play true distance with a 10% over adjustment, power 5 ball settings. Half a ball of curl to the right, and I'm using overpower as well, which is going to be 1 ring regardless if I do adjust into or not. So let's say like this, if you don't adjust into overpower, which will be the most likely scenario, you use 1 ring. If you adjust, let's say 2 rings into overpower, you use 2 plus 1 ring in overpower here on hole number 9. So pretty boring ending here for the qualifying round of Expert, but an eagle is an eagle and we take it. Thank you so much everybody for watching this playthrough for Expert Division for the Game Set Match Tournament here for the Greener Point in Golf Clash the Game. Video sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic, and get our ultimate tournament guides for Pro, Expert and Master through the link to Patreon directly in the description down below. Thank you once again for watching and good luck in your Golf Clash game.